Hey, good morning. Um, Timothy Darrell Young, BS MPA. University of Oregon double duck. I got 2 degrees and served on the State Board of Higher Ed and was a student body president as a write-in before becoming an object of deep state torture, gang stalker, 24-hour secret surveillance or secret surveillance groups. Um, They'll call it biohacking, but just as Kevin Christian described, somebody got my EEG in my dorm at the U of O shortly after September the 11th when all those troops were being deployed. And there's been about 1,600 senders, like the University of Washington website that details this equipment, and it's presented in a much more benign way, like it's not totally hell on earth, because that's what it is. Like a fire, body and mind is another way to talk about it. I've got a staph infection that was purposeful, and then I couldn't help laugh too. I was joking about staffs. I don't want to be broadcast. Where was I going with this? Number of perps, and it's a real huge ongoing crime. Oh yeah, like 1,600 senders, and then with all of the street theater, deep capture ops from here to Bellingham, Washington, Mexican border, Utah, LA, Vegas. About 5,000 operatives of these systems have been attacking myself alone as a member of my family. About 5,000. Unlimited federal funding access. Can blue beam a truck that I used to drive in my 20s that my dad gave me. It was green, but this one was brown to let me know that it was a blue beam. And then some guy sitting in the passenger seat that didn't quite look like me too, to let me know that I was like one of the many clones that could be of my form or whatnot, and using the headgear and blue beam technology. And that was down the street in Hillsborough. That wasn't September the Lemby running around like chickens with our head cut off because a plane was false flagged, domestic, psyop, inside job. That was a blue beam plane wrapped in a missile. Oh, it's September the 11th. Happy September. Or, well, is it time? Is it been enough time yet? Does anybody have any good September the 11th jokes? It'd be nice if we could think of one spontaneously. Or it would be nice if I could think of a September the 11th joke spontaneously. But one of the things folks pointed out, like, this doesn't really add up. Like, I think we were lied to. Is that jet fuel don't melt steel beams. Jet fuel, it doesn't melt steel beams, was one of the critiques after people analyzed that domestic psyop, false flag, reason to get us into the war in the Middle East. And they were down the block with it in Hillsborough not that long ago. So my life is very difficult. It would be nice to meet a young woman. Some of this stuff, like, it's too much of an emphasis and a distraction from the war crimes, and they would probably just try to target an individual, my kid, and take my kid away from me if I even had a child. I mean, and then I gotta watch out for honeypots and shit like that. Like, and I'm broke. Like, I'm on SSI. I'm in a nut house. Like, I can barely feed myself and take care of basic stuff. My peers are being broadcast and tortured. So I want my Constitution, my Bill of Rights. I'm not going to get that anytime soon. The weaponized psychology attack on me didn't end in a death, and I think there may be some sourpusses out there that really need to get over themselves and realize that they're a fucking sociopath, and to stay away from myself on your headgears. Before this, remote torture and being able to lay in your bed and enslave people with your mind and NLP every 15 to 20 seconds, and what's happening to Kevin Christian and all those people he interviewed. Kevin's doing a great job. He may not be, trained in journalism or own a paper, like maybe a billionaire or something like that, but Kevin Christian, in about 2 years of YouTube documenting, granted I was watching it too while he's doing it, he's done more to help me understand my plight, along with these other targeted individuals who were allowed to do interviews too, so you could see the other folks Kevin was reaching, and through all the filtering of like the intelligence communities, like they were threatening, Howard Circle was threatening to shut down Kevin's YouTube not that long ago. Anyways, I'm one of those fans. He's got his own thing. I privately cheerlead for Kev, like watch his videos of the drama that's going on with him, try to give him good advice, and endure what's going on here in the Northwest. So I got my coffee this morning. Maybe I'll start out doing some long counter surveillance. Let this run for a couple hours. How about that? Ooh. So I'm trying not to get totally used and abused. It's failing. I'm so exploited as a targeted individual, even at speed of thought. Like, there could be any number of people meeting me at speed of thought and then deciding they want to be my receiver, and then having the settings so that it's pleasurable to be my receiver, and they're parroting back my thought throughout EMF broadcasts, throughout Hillsborough, and the seeming flesh and blood. That's been going on for 15 years. So all of the deception in pathos, logos, and ethos, emotion, logic, and then expert status, being in your community and peers among in a decision-making process and debate, being able to establish yourself as the source of information or expert in a particular area is important for classic proofs of argument. So they kind of, I think they over dramatize it too much. But at speed of thought, I could have any number of people who are receivers who are having my consciousness come out of their mouths, like in an EMF chat room or on the street. And so I'm sort of being used for a synthetic telepathy cult gang, and then they worship like the people that enslaved them instead, but don't know it's like my thoughts going into their heads. Like, I don't understand all of the deception of it, but I want to stop any receivers and then any senders, and it's a matter of getting this headgear and learning the equipment. It's similar to U.S. citizens being able to have a firearm in the founding of this country. Like, the firearm that I want is my own BCI headgear, so I can take it back away from these people that are using me for like a synthetic telepathy, human trafficking cult. Like, I'm receivers for people that like the pleasure of my brain, and my brain's, like for the most part like any others. And so I want to stop that. And then there's people that receive my consciousness and then specifically use it against me. Just real devils, federal, trying to frame me for crime. So, and then what pisses me off is the remote control of my genitals or other manipulations or NLP every 15 to 20 seconds that pollutes my life experience. And then in turn, to fuck with anybody else that's like receiving my signal, they do or do not have to hear me answer forced responses to neurolinguistic programming inputs to just further mislead the misled. And who is myself? Like, I try not to lie as best I can, but I get so misled, and then I'm honest about lies. Like, a lot of it's propaganda. It's, synthetic telepathy. It's not religion. Any monitor could appear as Jesus or the Buddha or the Grinch. And I want to endure. I'm like 40, Northwest Oregon, USA, college educated wonk, which is somebody who's into public policy analysis, qualitative and quantitative research, applying the scientific method to things like reports generated for the city council or the county government or the governor. That's where the direction that I was going in when I was in college and was interested in possibly working like a middle management job at some university somewhere. And then the deep state got me, and I haven't been allowed to really think normally. And these gangs with criminal surveillance gangs, but then mind control addictions on top of that. Like I'm really in a fucked up spot, and it's not like I've been able to meet friendly electromagnetic beings and sort of this diverted herding thing. Some of the terrorist chitter chatter out here in Hillsboro is that at a fusion center, I don't know, there's no pain of death, I guess, in the EMF. You don't feel it. Anyways, I get misled. But there's, of the many mimics that could be me, like, it's being tactically, strategically, and obsessively applied to me as the target, and then the target audience implications of the non-consensual synthetic telepathy is that, and they could be real humans in those monitored consciousnesses walking around this broadcast or all around the world for all I know. And then they could even be pretending to be me or using my thought content, my brainwaves. And then over the last like 24 hours, the perps that are still here are sort of bragging about or having that be emphasis of how in targeted individual, they have beat the crap out of me in terms of being able to have good, friendly, peaceful diplomatic relations with electromagnetic beings that aren't perps, because they would like a mimic of mine that hangs out around or whatever and has been jibber jabbing off my life essence and sustenance and personhood and being a man. And that, you know, it may be blown out in misdirection than more than it is, but that's one of the tactics that mimicry has been used on me quite severely, as that how do you squash a blue state wonky Democrat? Oh yeah, wonk, I explained it. As opposed to the politics where you may be a little bit more new into solving public affairs issues or working on behalf of issues that matter to you and your kids. I was trying to make the transition from, you know, the guy that would organize a rally or a public input discussion at a city council, just somebody who would be preparing the reports to be voted on by the city council, and then the deep state just like bam, and it's been pain ever since. Too many guys, even in my high school that I grew up with in the late 90s, became in various shades deep state targets too. So 4% of the population are psychopaths, 1% are psychopaths, and I'm neither one of those things. And this whole false positive on confirmation of a narcissist involved that has its headgear and is being a monitor around me, similar to Kevin Christian's algebra, exactly the same example. So like 5,000 of these motherfuckers have come at me. I mean, I've been tricked into saying some dumb shit, mainly because of them. And then they misjudge me over like free speech issues as if that's a reason to fucking kill somebody. Give me my fucking mind back. Why are you receiving my signal? Like, anyways, so non-consensual receivers using that shit against me out there. And there's been an unknown number of them for 15 years. Everybody talking shit at the federal government cafeteria about who's had a piece of my mind. Like, 15 years of this shit. Bloody Gina sitting there drinking some Kentucky bourbon with a guy who wants some weed in the Northwest. Like, anyway, so it's similar to buying a shotgun. And I'll need like homeowners insurance in case they try and break in and break my gear. And it's combat, it's war, but it's not lethal. It's worse than death. But I want to get the headgear like I would want to get a shotgun to sort of protect myself a little bit better than I am from NLP from any direction. 1,600 separate one of these motherfuckers. I don't even know how many of them were like flat out AI or audio visual tape, essentially, with, you know, directly into my electromagnetic system as a man. just putting on set it and forget it, crockpot cooking me on CIA looped statements, NLP. Sounds really stupid or dumb. It is designed for torture. Neurolinguistic programming specifically does not clarify what it really means. And your brain is like forced to respond to the statements. It's torture. And then there's just really stupid people. No, these are expert torturers. They only fake that they sound stupid for more torture. I do a little bit of an impression of a voice, just playing dumb. I mean, come on. It's been a lot of input on this manners of speaking when that's, in a 12-hour cycle, that's a lot of what I got. So hurricanes on the East Coast, summertime, we got fire season out west. I'm about to be homeless, housing displaced. I'd been here about a year. It's an outpatient facility. They move people in to file complaints so you get kicked out. I mean, they'll deep capture a whole mental health outpatient facility. Or they tried before they got really Kevin Christianed. Back in 2016, 2017, I was working with like Columbia Care out in Oregon. An outpatient mental health facility is an unaware TI, and these people are just munching on my life essence itself. And just sort of keep a hush-hush on EMF perping, remote torture, the TI system, distract with fucking wizards and ghost stories when it's real POW war crime and eugenics and all kinds of other evils. Anyways, I was working with like Columbia Care, and the Twitters brought a lot of this shit into my life. I was kicking it in Facebook land for a long time, and then went onto the Twitters, and it's at times for sure. I mean, that's happened here too. I mean, it's not that hard for them to do in the InfraGard, but I've walked into mental health facilities that are like deep captured, or at least by appearance, by folks that are synthetically telepathic, lied to about me, maybe in the best case scenario, and just following orders and being mean to a TI, and then others sociopaths. Psychopaths out there sort of in the mix. But this narcissist thing, I'm not gonna bite on it. What are they just saying? They don't want to fucking give up on trying to broadcast me? 5,000 units. I made an enemy combatant at some point. They're the ones that are criminals against the Constitution, and they want to blame 15 years and this virtue signaling thing, like mimicking its speed of thought, and then making sure I don't make any friends that would prevent me from getting killed. All 5,000. And they're like, nope, it's this little narcissist who has their headgear and can't be killed as an EMF monitor consciousness. But that's been some of the jibber jabber around out here of Lothar of the Hills people. Hillsboro. Lothar of the Hills people was an old show on SNL. It had a tribe, a tribe chieftain that would sit around and talk to other dudes, and it was a pretty funny skit on SNL. Okay, so this is about 20 minutes. I solved the rectal torture. I don't even get to celebrate these wins. I should be doing backflips like at a Timbers game. But yeah, N52 level magnets, medical rubber from a medical glove you can get anywhere. You can get N52 level magnets really easy off the internet. Wash them in case your perps like try to poison or whatnot. Outside of your sphincter as a man, if you're being rectal tortured, as Kevin Christian described, I've done it for over a year now, and I don't get rectal raped. They've even tried. Like I would add another section of a magnet if I felt like my flesh getting pulled or something, however the infrastructure really worked. And it's solved. So if that's a problem, try it out. Put it on for 6 months. You definitely don't have to do any surgery or insert anything. It's really quite simple. So, and make sure not to patent that. All TIs should have the medical rubberized N52 level magnets to stop remote torture, rectal torture, like what Dr. Horton was getting threatened with the porcupine delivery service or whatnot. Just It's very painful and quite a drain. Okay, so yeah, have a good day.